eigentlich der Schlüssel zu allem bietet wirklich Mersenne.
Hello everybody, it's time for our result of Challenge 4 and Alberto is not doing weird things, it's just Sibu is actually begging for some attention. It's actually Friday afternoon we recorded. You know what I'm doing Friday afternoon normally if I have some time?
No.
I walk with him to my mother. It's like 8 kilometers. It's my time with him and it's unbelievable how he feels it's Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
He knows. He knows. So, again, back to Mersenne. We had a challenge for you, which was make a summary of the Mersenne video I made a few weeks, maybe even 2 months ago. It's a while, 5-6 weeks ago, doesn't matter. That video that I think and I think for a long time, that's where everything starts. That's where your journey in tempo research starts. It was actually also the way, remember that video on the ping pong video that I made with Lorenz, was over there. So if you haven't, of course you have seen it, but if you haven't seen it, just go back to that, because if you see Lorenz, if you know, it's so funny. When
it's
Lorenz
so awkward when he comes, it's like, hello.
The author of Takt und Pendelschlag, he paid us a visit to talk a little bit about his book, Takt und Pendelschlag, in which he talks really in depth about the metronome markings and the pendulum notations of the 18th century. And here he is, Lorenz. Welcome here at our house and to the audience, so to say, of authentic sound. But anyway, Lorenz is a priest, you know that?
Yeah.
He's writing on this stuff as a monk, like in his little room for 40 years. And that interview, that video, we decided in that week, which actually was 2017 January, where I had so much stuff to do. And Lorenz pays us a visit every year, sometimes even 2 times a year. And that January, I remember it was like so packed that I felt like, shall I just call to him and just postpone his stay? Because I don't have time.
Yeah.
And it's so, he works here and he plays some music. But anyways, he came and we were driving from the railway station in Weert to our place here and said, Lorenz, what would you think about translating your book into English, 2017 January? He said, yeah, that would be nice. We were not really collaborating back then. I was just having my moment, my metamorphosis, with the slow movements. And so there's a weird introduction for the Mersenne challenge anyways. But that video, he stayed from Tuesday or Wednesday till Sunday. Sunday late evening or Monday morning he left back. And so every time he's here, he invites us, the entire family, to go somewhere to have a dinner together. And during the dinner, I said, listen, we should actually make a video of this. It was Sunday afternoon. We came back with eating like this. And this was actually just improvised. And that video 1 year later just... So literally, that's what be?
Literally wäre es dann, bim, bam, 16 pro Sekunde. Immer noch zu langsam.
Zu langsam, ja?
Ja. Yam, bam, 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 ding, 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 ding.
Okay, I'm a beginner. This one, I should be able to play that actually.
Aber nicht mit der Metronomangabe von...
Okay, let's see.
Warte.
I've played this in...
Viel zu langsam.
Dann jetzt?
Moment.
Das half note dann.
Das ist halbe, genau. Dann Viertel.
Okay. So, but that video starts with Lorenz saying, der Schlüssel ist alles in Mersenne, something like that in German, which means Mersenne is the key in understanding everything. And that's his masterpiece. That's unbelievable that from this book, 800 pages, you have to really read it complete. It's not that he just has an excerpt, you have to combine everything.
Yeah.
And so in the new book, Mersenne will have a prominent place as well, as you can imagine. And that's Sibu, by the way, if you hear some weird sounds. I think he's chasing the cats who were actually having their sleep. They're sleeping the entire day.
Yeah, of course they are cats.
Until the moment that Sibu feels like looking for someone to play with.
Some amusement.
So there will be, Mersenne will have a prominent place in the book. And honestly, the video I made on Mersenne, it took me a long time. Because when you write something, that's why we asked you to write something down, and I made the challenge for you much harder. But you could do it because I made the path for you by my actually large or huge summary of Lorenz' work. It was very, very good for me to do, because when you write on stuff, you come to certain inconsistencies in your own understanding. I mean, Lorenz' stuff was consistent. He worked on that for 40 years. He knows his backwards, forwards, up, in, out. It's unbelievable. So I regularly contact him because there were small elements.
Yeah.
But just moving it a little bit, say, oh yeah, but that's what you mean. And so that video, I think, is the only video I ever should have made. Also, the script for that video was peer-reviewed by Lorenz. How does that sound? Now, people sometimes make jokes about that.
Yeah.
That we would never have a peer-reviewed article. Don't forget that Lorenz' book, Takt in Pendelschlag, was published at Katzbichler's, published at Katzbichler, is a known house for musicology studies, and it's peer-reviewed. There's an editorial board there. Anyways, I'm digressing really terribly. So that was the reason I asked you to summarize that, because we're all in this together. I mean, many of you are here for the tempo research. It's not the only thing we've done, but we focused a lot in 2020. The channel, we will go back to some diversity soon, but we needed to do that to create this island for us to play like that. And if you want to play like that as well, you could just point to what we are doing. And so
if they can see that. Wow.
That's the reason why I asked you to summarize that. Now, I didn't know how many contributions we would expect, and we got 4, which is not so much.
No, not so much.
In a way, I get it. It's difficult, and I get also the point that many of you are not here to do the research together with us. But guys, I'm telling you again, do it, because I know you are here to understand not only the permission. I would say the permission is something that people are looking for to us. The book will be kind of permission for you to play like that, but because now if you do, people say, why do you play like that? You cannot explain it. Well, then you can.
You're just a clown.
But it's important for you. If you care about talking about this with people, that you understand that video, that Mersenne message. Also, Alberto, while you are playing with Sibo, let's go to the first participant, I would say, which is Brian. Brian is a regular guest also for the
Monday premieres is always there.
Yeah, so let's see what he has to say. The limit for you was 30 to 60 seconds, and you all are in 1 minute. There we go.
In plane geometry, we are basically saying this. That's a whole note and a half note. And that's it.
That's complicated stuff.
Because isocronous means same time. And it's a very peculiar curve, because if I let a ball go from any spot here and any spot here, they'll both meet at the midpoint, that red arrow, at exactly the same time, no matter where I release either of them. I'll show you. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
That's weird, this experiment.
That's
right?
cool.
So, yeah, okay. So what do you have to say about this, Alberto?
Well, it's maybe it's me. I should watch it again. I didn't. I mean, I understood the concept of like dividing the unity in two.
Yeah.
So the concept of twofold unity, but I didn't really understood like how it relates to
the paradox,
to the paradox
Yeah.
of 1 + 1 = 1, and
Exactly.
maybe Brian, you can also like leave maybe your comment here, and then just let us know if we missed something in the video, which might very well be possible.
Yeah. So it was a little confusing. Also, this synchronization of these two
Yeah.
balls, which was interesting. I didn't know that would be the case. I would assume that
Yeah.
would be much later, one compared to the other. But it shows also that, and I've learned that it's not easy.
No.
It's not easy to just bring this message back. And I have to be honest, I made a 30-minute video on that. I should make my 2-minute summary as well. But I couldn't do that in 2 minutes because there were... If we would live in a world, so to say, that made sense, like where everybody was looking for the same kind of goal, like we are reconstructing this, then we wouldn't have... it wouldn't be necessary to go that extensive to elaborate on these things. But I have to go in all the directions to give people like, but that's not possible. Okay, but here we go further. That's not true. We go further. And so then they get a 30-minute video, of course. Okay, so anyways, thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
And then we go to Thomas Hughes. Authentic Sounds Channel Challenge 1 + 1 = 1, Mersenne's Paradox. There we go. It's actually a circle, eh?
Yeah.
It's nice, this overlay.
Yeah. So I will say that he explained how the pendulum, of course, works. So and what Mersenne is saying in terms of one single oscillation to one side is 1 second plus 1 second. So back and forth is 1 second instead of 2 seconds. But it's not clear how that relates to music. That's
true. So it's a little confusing as well. I know Tom, of course, also from behind the scenes, and he is in for the calculations. And I often say to him, like, listen, I don't
It's
understand
too complicated.
But the interesting is that if you the perspective is from how did Galileo? I talked with him about this, and maybe he might still thinking about. But if you see the formula he gives, is actually, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe it's not important, that Galileo used the full swing to have this, what is it, square root of the, I don't know, this formula to calculate the length of the rope for a certain speed. So he needed the full duration of that. So I don't know if that's true, but it was interesting for me to see that a pendulum, actually we see, of course, the left, right, but in fact it's a circle that it's making. And if you talk about circles and things like that, it's like there is a whole aspects of maths that's developing. Okay, Tom, thank you. Anyways, it's always good to think about this. I cannot emphasize that enough.
Yuri,
you look serious. Let's see if you...
Mersenne said that 1 second plus 1 second equals 1 second. What?
May I suggest a simple solution?
By 1 second, Mersenne means 1 full cycle of the second's pendulum, 1 full swing. which lasts 2 seconds. 2 sounds, 1 heartbeat. It's nature. And 1 and 2.
It is my role to be an instigator, to create problems,
Bravo, Mersenne.
and out of this, the truth must emerge.
Yes.
You don't like it? Your problem, mon ami.
Bravo.
So,
And this one, it's clear because he makes just in a moment where he shows the reverse metronome. It's actually where you realize that the metronome was just like a pendulum, and it's same principle.
yeah.
Yeah, and we are gonna talk maybe after Jeremy's a
The
little bit of
solution
how
is
to
the solution is what he said is just a time period of 1 second.
Yeah.
How do you define that? The
2
physicians,
points,
yeah,
1 and 2.
they still speak about that. The time period is the full cycle.
Yeah.
Of course, today we would say 2 seconds, but that's a terminology problem. It's actually it nailed it. What it's very simple in a way. Okay, then we go to Jeremy.
During the Renaissance, the movement of a piece was indicated by a binary unit of time. The down and up of the hand forms a beat, or tactus. This is precisely what Mersenne is describing with the pendulum. Each single swing of 1 second represents the down or up of the arm. However, Mersenne says the complete cycle lasts 1 second instead of 2. The explanation of this paradox has already been given. In order to measure time, we need a 2-part movement. In other words, the period of 1 second is given by 2 strokes of a pendulum. It is now time to reconsider all metronome markings, since the metronome, or time measurer, is precisely referred to as a pendulum. Should we be afraid of the implication of this theory? No, this is a perfect opportunity to expand our knowledge and to experiment. And I assure you, whole beat practice is completely harmless. Well, almost.
Almost. He said at the end, almost. By the way, Jeremy quoted early music sources in the as a source.
Yeah.
I saw that. You
That's
see,
certainly.
the great channel, by the way. So, what's your impression on this, Alberto?
Very clear. I mean, it's also Jeremy makes the connection between the movement of the arm and the pendulum, and of course
The time period.
the time period. And it's. I mean, of course, if you think about that, there is no way to measure. I mean, they didn't have another way to measure time if not bringing that into space, the space dimension, because otherwise how do you measure time? Like you need something that moves in space to
Yeah, sure.
understand how much time it takes to move from one point to the other.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, and that's why they did also with music to measure. But
Well, the pendulum is. Lorenz talks about it in the book. There are some 19th century sources really interesting about explaining how you measure time. If you would leave the pendulum just from A to B,
Yeah.
Tom, Jack, you don't have that. Also, as a musician, there is the definition of the tempo occurs in the back.
Yeah.
I think Mersenne calls that ricurso, or just that's Latin.
But it's the same principle of how a conductor gives the cue to the orchestra. It doesn't do boom. It does 1, 2.
Yeah, it's very normal. Tactus is there.
If you don't know from what point you are coming, like you can never like be together, which is actually the main point.
I saw one of the comments there on the Mersenne video, like only the idea of thinking that a metronome was called a pendulum is insane. And I thought, when you read comments like that, you say, really? It's always
Tata's independence, like
it's always called a pendulum, always a mechanical pendulum. But it was great contribution by Jeremy. And so, yeah, we have 4 challenges, 4 contributions. It's not as much as we have when we launch a
playing challenge, yeah.
But that's not a problem. I will insist and will keep insisting on guys, do this exercise. Do it, really. This is so simple.
Yeah.
And just to give you an example of a great summary.
Summary.
There we go, Alberto. It's
I
your
should
turn.
do that. Oh my gosh. So basically, Mersenne needs to, how do you say, give a way to measure music because the notation was becoming more and more difficult. So the old tactus.
We know that story.
Yeah,
we
okay.
just focus on the paradox. No,
Okay,
you did a great job a few weeks ago.
Okay, so let's see if I can repeat that. So Mersenne says that the tactus alla semibreves should be lasted 1 second, and this tactus here is represented from the up and down of the arm, and connects this up and down to the second pendulum, to the full swing of the second pendulum, which actually takes 2 seconds to do back and forth. And so, in other words, if you have to translate that in the metronome language, you will see semibreves equals 60. And the semibreves represents the full oscillation of the second pendulum, which takes 2 seconds, but the frequency of the movement, it's the second, so 60.
Yeah.
So instead of having each semibreves 1 tack and tack, you have 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and so
And so
on.
he defines a time period. Your summary a few weeks ago was better.
It was better, yeah. I
but
forgot. I was
it's-
pretty inspired at that time. And so, yeah.
But I get it. I mean, when you're really diving into this,
Yeah.
but it's true. It's what it is. It's actually not a paradox. It's just a terminology problem.
Yeah,
When
it's-
he would be a little bit more modern, he would say, let's define the second tempo, and we define 1 second tempo by 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But it's 1 second tempo. It's the mesure d'une seconde. It's the time period. It's actually all it is.
But the thing is that, of course, guys, it's connecting the tactus to the of 1 second to the pendulum to the metronome. This is the 3 passages that you do, and then
But the
you
connection
see,
from the pendulum to the metronome, if you talk to someone who denies that existing, then you're talking to someone who's not really at home in the matter. Because even I think in what is the article? I mean, you have very early on articles like in the Scottish magazine. I think that's 1817. They talk a metronome is a pendulum that.
yeah.
It's a pendulum, of course, and it uses the same principles. Okay, do we have something to add? And only that we have the challenge for the next challenge will be released, I think, by the time this result will be published, and hope to see a lot of you guys participating in that, because that's a real challenge where you have to find your own tempo based upon notation.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you all for being here. And thank you, Brian, Tom, Jeremy, and Yuri for your time
Yes,
and
really.
devotion to this. And we see all of you soon again. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye, guys.